Oh, hey, I pushed the button too soon, Carrie.
Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Adam Anderson. And this is Carrie Anderson.
Hi there.
And we,
Guess we're getting started, huh?
yeah.
Let me scooch this closer.
We've done
hey.
couple of these, but this is the first time Carrie's handed me the phone and said, do it. I'm like, sure, I've owned, 7 tech companies. I have advanced certifications in hacking and software and all this stuff, and man,
and still Facebook Live is a little much.
Just isn't my nemesis.
You know, what can I say? I'm Carrie Anderson. This is Adam Anderson.
Yep.
And this is this week's Whole Life Entrepreneurship Live. Thanks for joining us. What's going on with you, Mr. Anderson?
Kids are out for summer. I've spent all day playing video games with my son in the basement. We went out and got some Japanese food for lunch and then hurried home to continue. And it's been like an 8-year-old boy's dream today.
Oh, I'm glad you guys are getting to do some one-on-one time. You're going on an adventure with the kiddos this week, right?
Yeah, I'm taking the 2 babies to Panama City Beach to visit a buddy of mine, Jonathan Bates, well as a high school buddy of mine, Balder Saunders. So, so I'll have the 2 babies, and I'll be doing a 7-hour drive, and I'll have them for 5 days.
By yourself?
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, they'll both be there.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. So, why am I by myself? What are you doing?
Well, if you'll remember, you were supposed to be in Germany this upcoming week. And then the following week, you were going to meet me in Charleston, and we were going to go to one of the beaches down there. And then the plans got changed. Do you remember all this? And you're like, I want to go to Panama City Beach where I grew up. And I was like...
That's not how I talk.
I do not. And I said, I just have too much to do. I can't do it. I've already committed to some work stuff. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. And he's like, well, you don't have to go. Why don't I just take the kids with me and you can do whatever you need to do at home? And I'm like, by myself?
Yeah.
By myself? I'm going to have a staycation by myself? And I was like, you know what? I don't even need to do that. Why don't I go ahead and go to the beach a little bit early?
Yeah.
And get some serious writing done. I don't know how many of you out there are bloggers or writers or have written a book. We have several of those things kind of in the works. I cannot get ahead of it. And so I was like, I'm going on a writer's retreat. So bye, family. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Okay, what?
I mean, I'll miss you.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
But seriously, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you making the bandwidth for that to happen.
So if you think about chill, we often talk about how do you chill together, but it is so important that you also chill alone. And me having a time to chill with the 2 kids and us build some memories and us build some inside jokes, that's important. And it's just as important for, Carrie to have time on her own. It's so important for her to be able to say, I'm going to disappear for a week and I'm going to have myself an experience and it's going to be awesome. And and here's the thing, it doesn't matter what she does on that trip. It only matters that she did it.
Yeah, it might just be like me and some Boone's Farm. Don't judge me.
I'm judging. I mean, if you're going to hurt your liver, so many other, look, Boone's Farm, is that from cultural things or are you worried about a budget?
That's just where my heart was back in the late 90s, so I don't know.
Cool.
Anyway, well, so that's exciting. I really got to give you props. We've spent a lot of years sort of making room for Adam's career, and these last couple of years he's really stepped up to be able to make it so that I can kind of step into my own, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's fun to watch you do your thing.
Oh, thanks. Well, today, what are we talking about?
Ass.
We're talking about ass.
ASS.
So, ASS came about because Adam and I were collaborating on a workshop, a whole life entrepreneurship workshop, and he thought it would be hilarious to make me say a cuss word
And it was.
during these
And it was.
workshops. And it was a little funny. Because I tend to be the kind of person who's like, ass.
Yeah. So the three C's are kind of how we go about enriching marriage and
Right.
enriching entrepreneurial relationships. But enriching them from what is ASS. And
Yes.
ASS stands for alone, stressed, and scared, which is what typically every entrepreneurial relationship has a dash of that somewhere. And some folks are really high on the alone, and some folks are super, actually, typically you're off the charts on all of them in some form or fashion,
Or
right?
you have been.
Yes.
They're either layered on top of each other or they occur singularly.
Feeling super
Way
alone,
up here.
which triggers stress, and so I'm going to hide that under anger because I'm mad at you, and
I'm stressed, so I
Isolate?
pull myself back and isolate
Oh
myself.
my goodness. Yes, it's complex. It's
Yes.
so complex.
It really is very complex. So, ASS are really the pain points that makes whole life entrepreneurship a really, really important endeavor. Because those are the things, and honestly, I think that they happen probably in every relationship, in every marriage, in every family, and everybody's life. I think everybody experiences these things at some point. But would you agree that this lifestyle amplifies those things a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I'll tell a quick story.
Story time. Story
So,
time.
all right, hold on. Don't be too happy. So, once upon a time, we only had one child. And
Those were the days.
she was a brand new baby. And she was colicky and threw up a lot. And she, it's new parents, first year, all these things. And I was not there because I was at yet another tech conference trying to sell stuff. So not only was I acting as entrepreneur, as business owner, but typically in smaller companies, the primary salesperson in that company is the entrepreneur. So you're not just doing operations and is the product right and all this, but you're also then, your job really doesn't start until 5 p.m. when you start going networking, you start partying, you start doing all this stuff. And so I had been doing a marathon conference where I was up at 6 a.m. to go to breakfast meetings, and I didn't go to bed till 4 a.m. because I was invited to the after parties. And you have to go to all those things because that's where all the deals are made. Is like, hey, remember that experience we had? It was great, and you just go. And for about, by the way, Vegas sucks. I'm sure, my family lives out there. There's some good things, but the conference center experience kind of sucks because, when you're in the MGM and you haven't seen the sun for 6-7 days.
Don't even know what day of the week it is.
So in the middle of all that, sleep deprived, I'm alone because I'm sure I'm surrounded by people, but nobody there is feeling what I'm feeling. I'm stressed because if I don't close these deals, now that we got 20 people working for us, when it was just me, I was fine. The thing falls apart, whatever. But now I kept telling myself, I got 20 mortgages I'm responsible for. And then the last part, being scared, I'm like, what if I can't get it? And I'm in the middle of all this. And then my phone rings. And my wife is on the other end. And she begins to lecture me how I'm the worst parent ever. My kids are going to grow up learning to hate me because blah, 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 blah. And guess what? Turns out she was at home and she was alone. There's nobody there who can actually communicate with. She was stressed because this baby won't stop screaming and no one's there to help. And this, husband of hers is off and she sees the pictures. He's partying, he's having a good time, he's really enjoying himself. And now I'm scared because what's going on with all this? Am I going to be alone? Is this, you know what? I'm going to trigger some other emotions and that's going to give me a safe place. And I'm going to go to anger, right? And both of us at that phone call went to anger.
Yeah.
And so is it more than other kinds of relationships? I don't know if it's more acute, but I guarantee you we get more swings at the plate. We have more opportunities for
Right.
alone, stressed, and scared, without
Right.
a doubt.
Well, I've said this before, and certainly do not want to offend anybody or minimize anybody at all, but I kind of liken this lifestyle a little bit to that of those who are in the military, because there's some form of risk, because there's a spouse usually who is bought in to this greater mission, right? But really they're not personally active. They're just kind of like along for the journey, and whatever circumstances that brings, they're kind of just drug along. And there is some level of risk, certainly not as much like physical risk, but I kind of think about it like that. It's a heightened sense of risk, and there's not a ton of community built in, and at least for military families there are sort of a built-in community for people to go to, and for us there was no one.
Right.
Yeah, so it was funny because this week we were approached by some folks from an organization that we've been a part of for, gosh, how long?
You'll give me more information.
Talking about CEBI.
Ah,
We were in CEBI.
10 years.
I mean, I don't even know that I'd had Kenton yet. So he's 8. I mean, we've been members of this community for a long time, and it was sort of a mastermind group that Adam was a part of.
Yeah, 125 business owners.
Right, and he was still a very, very young.
And handsome.
He was still a very, very young man then. So I was especially young. So once a year, sometimes twice a year, I don't remember how it started, they did these couples retreats. And basically what it was is like the spouses would kind of get together on the side while the owners had these sort of board meetings. And it was kind of like they would just kind of entertain us over to the side while they still got to do their business stuff, and then we would kind of come together and have dinner in the evenings. But we kind of got to go on these little adventures with this group, and that was a really, really cool thing. And
we collect coffee mugs. This is from Inn by the Sea. It was 3 houses down from Taylor Swift's house, which we were not able to break into.
No, we weren't.
Despite best efforts.
I mean, we tried. But that was really the first time for me as a young wife sort of in this that I met other spouses in the same situation. And it just really opened my eyes to the fact that, and again, I was probably the youngest wife in that crowd, and I still had really young children. Most of these women were, middle-aged or had older or grown children, and they were just like, yeah, hang in there. It's a process. You're going to go through a lot of ups and downs. And I remember thinking just then, oh my gosh, I wish somebody had told me this before. I wish I'd known really what I was signing up for. And even in like the years that you were working with Clemson for the MBA program, and you would come home and tell me all these stories about these young kids who were saying, hey, I love the advice you're giving me on business, Adam, but can you tell me, how do I get my wife on board?
How do I control her to make sure that she allows me to take all these huge risks in her eyes?
Yeah. And I mean, there's no good way. There's no good way to prepare somebody. There's no good way to tell somebody, hey, listen, you're gonna have times where you're not on the same page, where you feel like you are 2 lone ships, possibly going in the same-ish direction. But partners, it took us a long time to get to that point. Whether we were in a business together or whether, we were doing independent things. I'm not exactly sure what switched. What do you feel like switched, where we kind of started really understanding, hey, there are these 3 factors and they're really affecting our relationship. How do we get ahead of that?
So the ASS, you went first, right? We tell the story that you got just completely fed up hating me all the time.
You're welcome.
Yep. And
You're welcome.
you began to identify these things, and out of those things, you began to develop the 3 C's, which kind of help alleviate these, right? So if you're stressed and scared, then typically you're not getting rest. You're
Right.
probably not recharging. You're probably burning the candle on both ends, right? And if you're alone, you probably don't have very good community, right? And part of that, concoction here is a lack of communication. So I feel like you really took time to recharge yourself, which gave you the energy to start surrounding yourself by people who helped you with your perspective and framing your truths around all these facts.
Yeah.
You tell a story about was it Becky?
Mm-hmm.
Who said Carrie was about to throw her middle finger up in the air and leave, like walking in slow motion as her marriage explodes behind her, like they do in the movies. And she's like, well, what if you couldn't? Right? So she was surrounded by a community that was supportive rather than, oh, girl, you should tell I like him. I'm not sure what accent that is, but
Yeah.
And so, and what happened is you went first. You led by example, and you began to create really safe places. So it turns out I didn't want to go home because I was alone, stressed and scared there, and I was alone, stressed and scared at work. But at least at work there were people who thought I was awesome. Going home and in that season, we didn't think I was awesome. So when you began to chill and communicate clearly and had a supportive community, all of a sudden home was safe. All of a sudden home was actually a place I could recharge rather than another responsibility. And learning to slowly move in that direction. Counseling helped a lot with that.
Right.
We were able, Carrie didn't like chrysalis into a butterfly and then I was like, oh, that's what it is. She started the thing and then we began to get professional help and that was fantastic. But professional help does not help unless both people are interested in improving the thing. If you try to drag a human being to counseling, it's much better for you to just go solo, and then when they're ready or if they're ready, they'll show up.
Yeah. Well, I've always just kind of liked how when we were developing this methodology, we had the 3 C's, which are community, chill, and communication. And those really mirror what's wrong with us. Alone, stressed, and scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like we did it on purpose.
On purpose.
Because most people can't remember more than 3 things.
Well, they can remember ass.
Yeah, badonk was what we really had it, and that was boisterous, and I don't know how to spell badonkadonk, but it was very complex.
Well, as we get into the next few weeks, we'll just kind of delve a little bit more into each one of these little pieces and start talking a little bit more about these pain points as we get closer to preparing us for a big event that we're planning. Yeah?
Yep. Are we telling them what the event is?
I mean, I thought you'd already said something last week.
Oh, I can't remember more than 3 things. Yeah, so we are in the middle of lining up some speakers.
Yeah.
We've got 3 folks who really I'm excited to have already confirmed. One is a gentleman in Brazil who is going to talk to us about money.
Right.
And I linked to some of his stuff before in a previous post, and he blew me away. I'll just quickly drop some wisdom. He's like, hey, we all feel good when we make money because we're programmed that way. We all feel bad when we lose money or spend money because we're programmed that way. None of us really know how to feel having money.
Right.
Which is why people can't stop. We always have to make more because I don't understand how to feel without that thing up front. So another guy, Thor, he has an amazing company out in Atlanta.
Yes, his name is Thor.
And he does extreme sports and does he challenged himself to do an Ironman and did like the marathon, all the stuff. But he believes in order to fix your company and grow your company, business is important, but he is all about mental, physical, and relationships. So he won't take you on as a client to help you grow your business if you won't first go through those three things. Because he's like, look, if you haven't figured out that the entrepreneur is the problem with growth at a certain stage, then you're never going to grow until you come to that realization that, you know, so there's just so many great speakers that we're talking to. It's going to be virtual, so all the stuff will be captured and we'll be able to use that content for you guys in perpetuity.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Very, very exciting stuff. Well, we are going to be in and out throughout the week like we usually do. So if you have anything that you'd like to add to any of the posts, please, by all means, we would love to hear your input. So we appreciate you guys so much. We are going to go ahead and head out for the week. Is there anything else you want to add, Mr. Anderson?
I love you. You're pretty, and you're a good mom.
I don't know about that. Try.
How about, let me try again. I love you. You're pretty, and you try really hard at momming.
At momming.
And the kids aren't dead.
They're not dead.
And they smell good today.
Do they? Anyway. Well, let's see if we can get out of this Facebook Live more gracefully than we got in it. You want to try that?
Yeah, hold on. Oh, shoot. I tripped.
Look, it's ass. Bye, guys.